as a pharmacist, every time you take something, you're going to have some type of reaction to it, positive or negative. We hope for positive, but it's also a negative. If you inject with a peptide, even though it's safe, you're going to have something over time, right? That's how it works.
When you go to these online mills that are just pumping out GLP-1s without taking a look at the whole person, they're doing a tremendous disservice to that person.
Those online mills are in the business of selling your research product, and then you're supposed to go and do whatever you want with it. And this is where there's a lack of accountability. Culture is about communication, teamwork, and vision. If you're able to actually communicate, if the communication is tough communication, good communication, and everything around that, be able to disagree, agree again, and love each other.
Dr. Franck Kacou, welcome to the Pathway to Peak Performance. So great to have you in, my friend, all the way from South Florida.
That's it.
I can't believe you came all the way out here just to see us. I really appreciate that.
Hey, absolutely. You've been doing an amazing job, and I'm so happy to be here. So, yeah, I can't wait to talk about the state of the industry, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be fun.
I mean, to have a guy with your credentials and the things that you're doing in the space here with us today to talk about that is such a monumental moment. Really, I think as we take a look at what's happening, we're going to dig deep into it. Before we do, as you know, on the show, each guest picks their charity of choice, and then all of the proceeds from the show go to that charity. So yours is
American Cancer Society. And more importantly, also my second one is Blood Cancer Society. We've been really close to them. We're doing a lot of initiative with them down in South Florida. We had some pretty bad news that happened to us about a month ago. Somebody close to us got diagnosed with lymphoma. So we pretty active. We were active before, but now even more active. And yeah, absolutely. So a Blood Cancer Society, if somebody can donate there, it'll be amazing.
Yeah, we'll put the link in the show notes to that. So not only will we try to get some awareness for them, but hopefully people will donate directly to them, and then all the proceeds from the show will go to them.
That's awesome.
Which is phenomenal. Yeah, I love it. That's great. So the show is sponsored by KetoneAid. I think you're kind of familiar with these guys. You know, Franck.
No, he's Frank. Franck.
You're Franck. He's Frank.
Yeah. I met Frank, man, 7 years ago, sitting at a conference. It was right next to us. And I was hooked, try this once. I remember I was fasting back then, and then he's like, came to me and he was just like dumping that in my cup. I was like, holy smoke, what is this? This is great. So yeah, I love it. I love the product.
Cool guy.
Yeah.
Cool guy. Yeah. All right. So we can choose between KE2 or KE4.
Yep.
You're familiar. And if you would just go ahead and pop the top and put some in for us.
Heck yeah, man. I'll go with the KE4.
All right, let's do that.
Yeah, I'll go with the KE4.
Finally, that's the stuff that I use every day. And everybody always picks the KE2.
So, yeah?
Yeah.
Why are they scared to go?
I guess they just don't really,
Well, what do you go? What do you do? I do 2 to 4. What about you?
I usually go 4 caps. 4? That's kind of my thing. Yeah. Because I'm used to it. I take it multiple times.
I can see that. That's pretty impressive. You go 4 caps on that bad boy.
Yeah. Don't drink too much caffeine on it.
Personally, I remember I used to have an issue with the taste on that bad boy, and then I just kind of changed things a little bit and started incorporating into different type of juice. It's worked pretty well for me so far. 4 is pretty impressive, Doc. That's why you get all that energy from now.
That's where I'm trying to keep up with you, man.
No, for sure.
Cheers, my friend.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you. Wow. Pretty cool.
Good stuff.
Now we're ready for an hour.
Here we go. All right. So,
yes, sir.
The first thing we should start with, I think, is helping people understand the role of a compounding pharmacy and what the different types are.
Yeah.
Why they're so important in the healthcare system, especially today as things are changing rapidly.
Oh, that's a great question. So compounding pharmacy is one of the oldest specialty within pharmacy. That's really how we all started pharmacy. In other countries, they call it preparation, right? It's where you prepare a drug from scratch. And the idea is to work in concert with physicians, to come up with customization of a product for a patient, right? That's the whole concept of compounding, right? Um, I got into this game about 10 years ago. I was a pharmacist. I worked at CVS back then, retail pharmacist. And during one of my side jobs, I was in South Carolina working. I got a side job in a compounding pharmacy, and walked into there right after school. And I had this gentleman that kind of taught me everything about compounding, and that was in the vet world, right? They were working on horses and things like that. And I just fell in love with the whole concept of working directly with physicians to come up with custom products designed for a specific, back then it was a horse or a person, right? So I thought it was amazing. So from there, I started digging into it a little bit more, started learning, because obviously they don't teach that in school. So not all pharmacists are compounders, because they don't. It's a one semester thing that you learn in pharmacy school. So you got to get out and actually learn on your own, right? And usually you have to go and potentially spend time with a mentor that can teach you the in and out of it, because it's actually very, very complex.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's complex and precise. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, I got into the game, set to open my own pharmacy in actually 2016. So we're getting in 10 years now. And saw this amazing opportunity to get into HRT back then, which is hormone replacement therapy. Started digging into it, started learning more from physicians, about the role, the importance of, hormones in overall wellness in general, right? Something, again, they don't teach us in pharmacy school, right? And really spent a lot of time with the whole compounding industry as a whole, as I was learning, right? And kind of open up my mind and my mindset towards why it's so important to have more compounders and have patient access to those compounders to actually create better outcomes in the healthcare environment. So what I saw when I first got into it is I realized that we had a small group of physicians that were very comfortable with compounding, understood compounding, right? And relying on compounders to make products for them, right? Specific to the patient needs. And we got into COVID in 2021. COVID was really what changed the whole game, right? COVID was, okay, well, where are those people that make, hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin? Like, what is this, right? The reason why compounders now became elevated is because of their ability to start making things when things are not available, right? When there's a shortage, the FDA asks compounders to make products. People realize that, wait a minute, there's a shortage of hand sanitizers in the United States. What do? We can make it for us. The factories are shut down. People can't make enough hand sanitizers. Well, what do? Well, we're going to rely on pharmacists to make them for us. This is where everything changed, right? This is people realize, wait a minute. Oh, these guys can also make hand sanitizers? Yeah, they can make anything, right? That's when we elevated the profession in a sense, right? And then from there, one thing, people started asking, right? The mentality started to change a little bit about medication in general. Well, what if I want to get a different strength of something while I'm in there getting my hand sanitizers? Well, what if I don't want to get a vaccine? I want to get this ivermectin they're talking about. Can somebody make it for me? Yeah. The mentality started to change a little bit. Go forward 2 or 3 more years, right? Shortage of GLP-1s. And what happened? People realize, well, let's work with those compounders again because we can't get enough GLP-1s in the country, right? And that's what happened. So FDA allowed compounders to start making GLP-1s. Then the entire country and the world knew what compounders did, right? Because we actually were going in there and helping the supply chain, right? Legally, right? To make compounds for people to get access to medicine, right? So that's the role of compounding in general, right? So from being in the corner of someone in a pharmacy, a series of events helped us elevate the profession to a point in which not everybody's talking about it.
What's so phenomenal about that whole run up is the awareness around customization of dosage. I mean, there's a number of things, but like when you talk about GLP-1s, most of those come in a one size fits all kind of approach. And, I like the notion that you could actually customize that to, the actual patient's um, situational requirements. So that's pretty cool
Yeah.
when you think about that.
Yeah, it is extremely important because when you think about it, we believe in standard of care. We believe in evidence-based medicine. We believe in certain things, in healthcare, right? But what we're realizing as people start getting more information about their health is that there's a very high level of customization needed. You're different than me when it comes down to what kind of drugs we need for each other. Like you might need something different than me, right? We might have high blood pressure together, but a certain type of blood pressure will work better for you than me. We might have depression, but certain type of antidepressive medication work best for you than me. You might have a gluten allergy, so you might be different than me. I have to get something else, right? A filler that's a little different. Then so you start realizing people need custom access, right? And this is where the role of a compounder is. It's not about mass producing stuff, right? We can play on that mass production when we need it, right? When there's a shortage and things like that. But it's about how do we create access for people to understand that, hey, there's a customization that's needed and people need to have access to those things, right? And that is really the anchor of compounding.
We had a conversation about this at Calm, where there was the presentation around genomics and really getting into it, really testing it. And I asked you, hey, Franck, do you think this is really where this is going? And you said, yes. I thought that was so exciting. What you're talking about really is like the next level. It is the big shift to be able to get down to understand exactly what do you really need? What's going to be effective for you? No guessing game. To the best of your ability, right? But let's get down to it. And so I think as time goes on, compounders are going to play such a role in the overall healthcare system. It's amazing.
I totally agree with you. And it's because you guys are asking for it, right? The patients is asking for that, right? The patients are becoming more educated. Jock, you might be smarter, and I hate to say, than a lot of primary care physicians out there, because you open up your mind to trying to understand what's out there, what's different, and you go and dig into it, right? And then you look at it because you're your own, motivator, right? You're like, okay, I got to do this for my health. I got to go find as much information as I can. If you go to a physician, right, that's working for a big group, you're probably going to have potentially 1 minute with that physician, right, to ask your questions. You're going to be seen in a standard of care, right, based on evidence, based on your age group, based on what we've seen, based on whatever. Okay. Nobody will ask any other question around the simple narrative that they have customized for you, right? Somebody might miss something, right? I hate to say that, right? Nobody's going to ask for different type of testing or diagnostic needed. Nobody's going to ask you, do you want to get a genomic test? Why? Because it's not covered by the insurance, right? So there's a narrative in which most people go into, right? Because they're trying to do this to create better access, right? Because it costs money, so it has to be easy, right? I guess for me, the challenge, right, as we're going through this is like, how do we do what we do, the way we see healthcare, and create access around that?
Well, when I look at your company progress, you guys lead the way in terms of quality. And it brings us to another topic, one that we really have to discuss. And that is With the boom of peptides at large, the whole peptide sort of revolution that's happening, there are certain things that people are rushing to get. And unfortunately, in that rush, they're getting it from sources that are it's such a bad idea. If they had any idea that COA, where you can see where it's like basically it's the same COA where they just Photoshop their thing into it, and it's out there all over the place. And then these people that are just like basically putting people at risk, and all in the name of making money. They don't care. That's pretty bad. I mean, how do we need to make people aware of, don't buy peptides online, man. That's a bad idea. You got to get it from a compounding pharmacy.
It is the number one problem that we see right now. It is very troubling, concerning that nothing is being done about it. But here's the state of affairs. We have, even before GLP-1s, an online group of people that were in the business of selling peptides. Peptides before GLP-1s were the dark secret of the internet, right? Usually the gym pros will, if you were part of the crew, will give you access to it. They're like, hey, we got a secret. We got the juice, man. We can hook you up, right? That's how it started, right? So they had their online groups in which they were going in, and some of them were cooking down in the garage. Some of them were getting them from other countries like China and India and all those places, getting them into the U.S. in a very safe way, I guess, and we're distributing that in the country. From there, something else happened when GLP-1s came out. They saw potential to actually also monetize and commercialize what they were doing and giving even more access to people, right? Because it's the same supply chain that are bringing certain peptides in the country that can also bring GLP-1s. Okay, it's the same supply chain. So, you're getting your peptides pre-GLP-1s online. The same supply chain can bring the same GLP-1 in the country. That blew up. On top of that, social media. So you add people on social media that go online and talking about the beautiful things out there about peptides, right? It's the solution to every problem that we have out there, right? And most of those people are not healthcare providers. They're not practitioners. They're just salespeople out there just pushing for stuff, right? So you have this nice mix of bad actors that get into the game, and on top of that, you add very smart marketing companies into the mix that create this disaster that we're in, right? Because now there's this research peptide folks out there that are supplying 90% of all the peptides on the market in the U.S. right now. They're not coming from compounding pharmacies. People don't even go to compounding pharmacies to get them. I mean, the people that are coming to us, other groups, are going in there because they're actually using a physician that is testing, checking the labs, making sure they're being actually followed before they actually order those things. Let me tell you, as a pharmacist, I'm gonna tell anybody out there, every time you take something, you're going to have some type of reaction to it, positive or negative. We hope for positive, but it's also negative. It does something good, but it also does something bad. When you do something bad, over time, it becomes more of a problem. So you negate the good. So people need to understand that. It's like, whatever you do, if you take 3,000 milligram of vitamin C, you're going to have some type of diarrhea. Okay, just a very simple fact. Vitamin C is safe, right? It's the same concept. If you inject with a peptide, even though it's safe, there's no other toxins, it's sterile, it's potent, you're going to have something over time, right? That's how it works. So you need to understand that you can't just inject yourself with a drug, because that's what it is, you know, without thinking that you're not getting any type of side effect over time, right? Because we're not the same, remember? Right? So this peptide that you like might be a peptide that might be allergic to, right? And there's a lot of peptides out there that people can get allergic to.
Yeah, people always ask me questions, vis-a-vis the world that we're in, right? And I always say, number one, not a doctor. Right. Number two, not a pharmacist. Uh, I'm N of one. And so whatever supplements I'm taking, whatever I'm doing, that's not that's not what you should be looking at. You should work with a provider, and it all starts with labs and understand exactly where you're going. And it's a progression. I love what we always talk about on our show,
Right.
that we have with the group, where we talk about like, hey, if you're starting out with something, it's probably not where you're going to stay.
That's right.
Because as you said, things change over time, and we're trying to achieve a goal, right? So I think that's the other thing that people are just not aware of. You see this stuff where it's okay, not only is it potentially dangerous, but the notion of continuing to use something without any kind of checking on, or the other thing that I think when you go to these online, kind of mills that are just pumping out GLP-1s or whatever it is, without taking a look at the whole person, they're doing a tremendous disservice to that person, because that's not treating the whole person. That's not looking at their entire makeup. Then there's so much more to it, right?
There's so much more to it. And let's be honest. Those online mills are in the business of selling your research product, and then you're supposed to go and do whatever you want with it. Their job is to provide a product to you, right? And this is where there's a lack of accountability. Yeah, if you go to a pharmacy, they're going to provide you the product, but you also have clinical information regarding the product.
Yeah.
Something goes wrong, the pharmacy is legally binded to help you with information or help, whatever help is needed. You have a pharmacist that you can talk to, right? About side effects, or want to get something else, increase in titration, decrease in titration, increase in strength, whatever you need, you can talk to someone about. Online, you have no accountability. They can't even tell you what the dosage and frequency is by law, because it's a research product. They're not a pharmacy. So what do you rely on? Do you rely on the gym bros that told you about it to tell you, okay, that's how you're supposed to inject it? So accountability is the key, right? So those guys online are definitely in the business of selling, but they're not in the business of treating. And that's the biggest difference. And when we're in the show and I'm sitting there and I'm listening to Christy, I'm listening to Craig, I'm just like Susan. I'm like, Susan, I mean, they're so smart. I'm like, people need to have access to these people. You know what I mean? I'm like, I was like, what, like, this is who you need to talk to, not the internet or not somebody online that's going to tell you what to do. This is where you need to go to get better if you're interested in those products, because it might actually not be the solution for you. Solution might be somewhere else, and knowledge is the key. And this is where I really believe that at the end, the pharmacies and the physicians who are doing it right will succeed. Why? Because they actually have access to the knowledge. That's right. They have the blessing. They got this, and you can't take that from them, right? Because it's just experience.
It's interesting. When Leonard was here, Dr. Pastrana, we talked about when I was a kid, right down the street, there was a pharmacy, there was a pharmacist, and the doctor would write some sort of prescription. You'd give it to him, and the pharmacist would say, oh, no, that's not what you actually need.
Yeah.
You need this. There wasn't a formulary. There wasn't a PBM. There wasn't insurance involved that, dictated all of that. There wasn't a gag order or a kickback. And we live in a very weird time. And I think we're coming to a place where the average healthcare consumer is starting to wake up and is displeased with what's happening.
100%.
Well, I mean, you've been in it. You've been doing this as leading up to it. I've been in healthcare for 30 years, but what I can say is that I'm probably just not as aware of it as you have been. I see it now, and I think people are gonna at one point in time just say enough's enough. Like, this is getting crazy.
Yeah. You want to know something funny, which it just brought me back to years when I was at retail pharmacy. And one of our KPIs or key performing metrics that we're looking at back then was some, in the pharmacy. It wasn't something that corporate was pushing, but something internally was, hey, how many brown bags do you have in the pharmacy? Because a brown bag means what? Because when you go to a pharmacy, you get one little bag. It means that you only have two drugs. Oh man, I can't believe I have two drugs. The push was to have brown bags because the brown bags got more drugs in it. So we're trying to see who's got the most amount of brown bags because that's the most amount of scripts that you're pushing. The idea is to push scripts, push prescriptions, push revenue. You see what I'm saying? At the expense of the patient, right? We talk about it. You're going to have 10 drugs. That's 10 side effects times 10.
I love it when you start talking about this, right? This is like you're taking the thing to fix the other thing to fix the other thing, right?
It's crazy, dude. It's like one of the craziest thing. And the thing is, a lot of the customers, the patients, tend to do better when you remove drugs from their profile, and they start doing something else like, ooh, exercising, or like, oh, I'm walking more. Oh, I just started yoga. Oh, I'm playing tennis and pickleball.
And one of the things I love about you, Franck, is that you and Leonard both are the pharmacists that are always like, oh, yeah, you think we'd be the guys that are always like, there's a pill for that.
Yeah.
But you always bring it back to like, hey, let's try to do less and let's try to actually adjust our lifestyle to working out, to, meditating, to breathing, to being around. I love what you say about social. Hey, you got to have some social in your life, that kind of interaction with positive people who make you feel good.
100%, man. And it took me a while to understand that, especially being, behind the counter in the pharmacy. Like, I need more drugs to be, it's like I pay the bills. It was totally different. It was a different setup. It's like, oh, no, you have to get education. People will pay to get access to education instead of the drugs to get better. That's when things changed for me. People they're willing to give you the cash, but not the insurance card. Because you know what I mean? So we were told, give me what's your insurance, right? So I can give you more drugs. Now forget that. Now they're willing to give you the cash to give you just so you can get access. They want access. I want to get better education on the drugs. I want to get, what's the best drug for me? I want, like, what's the best doctor I can go to? Like, they want to get access. So now they're like, you know what? Forget the insurance card. It's really not helping me. I'm getting sicker anyway, right? Let me just give you $100 instead of my insurance card that's not paying anything so I can get 1 or 2 drugs and access to a good doctor.
Isn't that crazy? It's so interesting how pharmacy is changing medicine.
Yeah.
It's wild to think. I think that people are really tuning in. I mean, they've picked up on it. The word's getting out. It's like spreading. It seems like it's starting to really accelerate.
It is. I think some groups in South Florida, like big groups, some of them have big like hospital groups, or now I'm starting to see within this big hospital groups like this little, department that's like this wellness department within the group, right? Some groups are also trying to come up with, concierge service. Okay, this is the underground name for functional medicine. Okay, so if you see a concierge service in a, university or blah, blah, blah hospital group, is really functional medicine. So you're starting to see that popping left and right. That means that they're keeping their eyes on it. They're tracking. I wouldn't be surprised if within the next 5 years, the footprint of a retail pharmacy is totally changed. A CVS or Walgreens will now become a wellness destination where you'll go in and the pharmacy will be probably the size of here with minimum of drugs, right? All the drugs will be shipped to your house because you don't need all that inventory. They're going to realize, oh my gosh, those pharmacy managers were right. We don't need $1 million worth of inventory. We can just ship it somewhere. We just need like 10 fast movers, right? Okay. And then the whole footprint now becomes what? You can have a little pickleball place there. You can have access to yoga. You can have access to a cold plunge. You can have access to red light therapy. You can have access to nutritionists. You can have access to, I'm telling you, That's my vision for pharmacy, right? And then you have a pharmacist there working in concert with physicians, nutritionists, health coaches, physical therapists to really kind of enhance the experience. You want to have better outcomes? That's how you're going to get it. That's it. But 5 years. If they don't do it within 5 years, somebody's going to give me money so I can show them how to do this. Seriously, yeah. It's like, I mean, you've got to do it because the customers want that. The patients want that. It's over. It's like nobody wants the brand back anymore. They want the keys to actually get in. How do I actually have a healthy, long life?
Yeah. I think you're on the money, and I think there's so many interesting therapies that are coming out. We're seeing all the data on hyperbaric and what it can do. And, the interesting thing too is I think confidence in the healthcare system has been eroded through things like, what we saw with OxyContin, where we just had this mass prescription. I mean, well, we were talking about this the other day. What was the other drug we said it was statins and SSRIs?
When we're in a show, we're talking. We're never talking about statins being side effect. There's a lot of side effect of statins. I mean, we have a product called citronellite LNA within New Biohacking that it's a supplement. Showing some very good, evidence when it comes down to decreasing LDL as a supplement. But the problem with statins is there's a lot of side effect with statins, right? And a lot of patients are really anti-statins. A lot of doctors are really anti-statins, right? We're talking about ercodone and oxycodone, right? I mean, he created a mess that we're still dealing with.
Yeah, I mean, you got people on the streets today.
Yeah,
just
this is a direct relation. I mean, this is directly affecting society right now. It doesn't matter if it happened 15, 20 years ago. These people had kids that are now in the street. They're just boom, 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 boom. It's just, it is, and so that's more as a social aspect of it, but it's pretty scary what's happening when it comes down to no accountability towards pushing medications that can be very dangerous for the public, for sure.
Especially around the epigenetic portion of that, when I think about what somebody's doing something
Right.
it's affecting child, which is affecting grandchild,
Right. Yeah.
without even ever taking any of it.
Never taking it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a wild time. And I think one of the things that you and Leonard do so well, it's so great to be a part of it, is that you really focus on bringing this high level of education.
Yeah.
The Calm Conference, I've been to, I don't know how many conferences in my career. You guys really bring this next level of education. You do it in a way where it's actually digestible. And I think that's like so powerful for those providers that, you really focus on the providers, the people that are actually going to be able to make something happen with this information. I heard, I really appreciate the invitation. Obviously I'm not a provider, but I got to go and I really enjoyed being there. And I was able to understand quite a bit of what was being said. So it was really interesting to me, like all of the things that just are not talked about, but there's plenty of data showing that it's actually happening, like the stuff in the gut. As we're talking about, hormone, microplastics, nanoplastics, and endocrine disruption. Some massive phthalates, in I'm like, oh, I'm not wearing scents anymore. I'm not doing that because it's like, whoa, it's crazy. And then Christy, we were talking about lotion, and I've always had dry skin. I don't know what, and she said, I always go back to the gut. Something in the gut is telling me that, you have a disruption in your gut. And if you need your dry skin, having that all the time. So it's amazing to see when you go, if we were to take a trip down the street to the CVS,
Mm-hmm.
it's so interesting to see what that pharmacy has actually become.
Mm.
It's like part grocery store, part paper supply, part school supply, part liquor store, right? Like,
It's so sad. What happened to us? I know. But I want to go back to comment. I want to make a comment on that grocery store next door. But yeah, I am so glad that you went to comment. I can't wait for you to come back again this year. It was great meeting you and your son and your team. It was really cool. But I'm glad that you're actually, got a sense, right, to see what we're trying to do.
Electric.
Thank you.
I mean, actually, when I think about it, I kind of get a little bit of chills around
Yeah.
it because when we walked in, like the energy was so good. It was like, when you walk in someplace and like you go, huh,
Yeah.
this was like, it was just like everybody was like, they were,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's great. Listen, Leonard's got his goals. I have my goals. My goal is simple. Um, it's with Calm, people talk about longevity. They talk about wellness. They talk about advancement in diagnostics tools. Talk about advancement in compounds. They talk about all those awesome new initiatives in healthcare. You know, it's a lot of talk about. How do you transfer that into a 2D experience where you can go in and experience what they're talking about and actually connect, take it, and go and apply it? That's my goal with Calm, basically. That's all it is. It's like, okay, everything they're talking about is great, but what does it mean for me as a physician, as a pharmacist, as a consumer? What does it mean? I don't get it. Like, can somebody just check on this? Is there evidence really on this, or is it just like a bunch of? Are they trying to sell something? Like, what is this? Right? I do I figure out the dosage? I don't even know what the dosage is. I mean, what's going on there? What kind of side effects should I be worried about? Like, what is all this? Then you can go to a place where they go over the latest of everything people are talking about because they did their research on it, look for evidence to make sure it's actually on par with what we believe in. And then you experience everything people have been talking about for the past year leading to Calm. And then you take everything with you when you get out of there. So you can actually go in there and be a better physician, a better clinician, a better patient, a better pharmacist. That's the goal. And I'm so glad that it was that impactful for you because that means that we're doing something right. And 27 is going to be even better.
Oh yeah. You know, if you guys will invite me back, I'll be there.
Oh, you'll be there. What are you talking about? You're going to be there for sure. Come on, man.
I'll tell you what, you know what? It was so interesting to see that in motion, really to see that like people were absorbing this. And that I think that's why the conversations continue on afterwards. Remember, we had installed the systems were at 7. No, we just filmed the 18th episode, right? So think about it. Every single one of those episodes has happened since Calm. And every single time we talk about something that was talked about at Calm.
Yeah. There's so much content.
Oh my gosh, it's unbelievable. It's like you can see how like it all kind of links back up and it keeps coming back to this notion of, hey, there's a foundational level. And it's super exciting. I feel like, I don't know how you guys are going to run that conference, but I feel like it's going to be a lot of people trying to come.
Oh, for sure. We'd love to see that more people for sure. I mean, I don't know if we can take more, but we'll love to have more for sure. One thing about Calm though is, on top of having people like you, quality people like you, obviously, it's really designed for people who actually are truly impacting, what we do on here in longevity. It's designed for people out there to actually go out there and actually do something about it.
Yeah.
Not for the people who's just trying to get in and just kind of learn and see on the side. We want momentum. We want people that really want to get in there, take that and go and apply that into practice. Take that information and actually go out there and try to start a new practice, right? And that's really what the design is. We want to get more people. We want quality people, right? Because that's the key. To get a momentum, to get changes to happen, you need to have people that are engaged, right? And we had, 500 people are in that room. They're all engaged, so the goal is to get another 500 next year to get super engaged. And then next thing you know, then we have conversation going left and right about everything that we talked about. Jacques, on her podcast, we can't stop talking. Like we have an hour, like, man, we need 2 hours, right? Because every topic is like, hey, there's so much more to talk about and we can't do that for an hour. And
I'm always like,
I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's crazy.
Yeah, I think that's what's so cool about it too. And part of that thing that you're creating is we're fighting, you're fighting the tide of misinformation.
Yeah.
These people that are out there that are pushing stuff, saying stuff that they don't really know about, right? They have no idea what they're really talking about. But you're bringing the people who do together around the evidence, around the research, and getting that out there. And when you get that out there in the way that you're doing it, it fights against the people that are doing it the wrong way, which is, that's a huge service that you're providing to the world by doing that. I can only imagine it's just going to grow and grow
For
and
sure.
grow.
You will. Being here will help as well. Getting the message out there for sure. There's really this is really where I think that we're making our biggest impact. Medication, yes, right, no problem. Compounds, oh yeah, right. You know, but education is the key, and that's when what Larry and I realized. 5-6 years ago, it's like that's the key.
Yeah.
That's the key because AI is great. Right? We talk about AI. It's in your world too. AI is great. But there's no accountability around AI. There's no accountability around the education that was provided to you.
What I've learned in training models is that, is that it is what you put into it.
Yeah,
So, at the end of the day, how it's drawing its sources, it's so easy to have it get off track and start to hallucinate and lie to you and do all sorts of crazy stuff.
so
So
right.
you have to be careful. It'll be a great assistant to physicians, providers, pharmacists. It'll do all sorts of things. I think it help in drug development,
Yeah.
certainly in radiology, it'll have an impact. But I think at the end of the day, one of the things that's a little scary is like it goes unchecked, like you're saying. And if we let it go unchecked, it could be dangerous. So I have to be careful with it.
Yeah, because of a lack of accountability, right? Because people will take that information, apply it, right, clinically. For a physician, can they take that information, apply clinically? A patient can take information, apply clinically with no accountability and create a problem, right? And that's why we have to be careful.
It's funny, Leonard said something the other day that I thought was profound. He said, this year, a physician or provider will be sued for using AI in a diagnosis and a treatment plan. And this year, at the same time, a physician or provider will be sued for not using AI in a treatment plan, which is wild, right? To think that that's
Yeah.
the world where we are today.
I know, and it's fascinating to me. I just every time I think about it, I'm like, how is it going to affect pharmacy? As it could affect? It's great. It's right now. It's helping the world, right? We see the positive as much as possible. And we just, I think at this point is we got to be better at putting guardrails around it. That's all it is. Because right now there's no guardrails around anything. So when we put some guardrails around it, I think we'll have a little bit better, better feel,
Yeah.
how to leverage it for sure.
It has to happen. It will, because otherwise, the problems are so big. I want to ask you more about you as a person. Why? One thing I've learned about you and spending the time that I have with you is that you're really kind of obsessed with like being the best. Where does that come from?
So I was playing sports as a kid early on. I was a competitor early on. But I'm a quiet competitor. So I was playing tennis. I came to the United States playing tennis. That's how actually I came in. I was playing sports. It was interesting because I was playing at a high level when I was 12 years old internationally. And so from 12, and then went to college, play D1 and all that stuff. Um, so it was always in me to be very competitive, but I'm a quiet force. I like to lead from behind. I like to really kind of engage people around me to help me get to the goal. Because there's one thing that I learned because I was playing a sport where you have to be by yourself on a tennis court. One thing that I learned is there's so much you can do, right? We all have some type of limitations, and I always love to play doubles in tennis because you always have another person with you. And I remember when I was playing singles and the feel that I had when I was playing doubles, because now I'm not by myself. I have another person that's just pushing me to do this, to do that. Give me another thing, like serve on his back and serve on his forehand instead. And I want to move on this side. And I was like, oh man, I always loved that feeling, the team feel, the team spirit, you know? So when I opened my businesses, that was my mentality. It's still my mentality where let's go and do amazing things, right? But we have to do amazing, not just me. As a team, we've got to go and do amazing things, and everybody's got the role.
You can always say, you look at people's kids, right? And you can tell sort of, you can also look at people's underlings in their organizations and you can tell what kind of organization it is. Your assistant is so great.
Thank you.
I mean, she is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean,
I got to tell you a story about her. Her name is Jessica. She'll be pretty happy to actually talk about her. She's so funny because she's stressed out right now. She's from Brazil. Yeah, the World Cup for them is like the world
big
stop.
odds, dude.
Yeah, the world stop, and all it is Brazil playing soccer, right? That's how they know. So anyway, that was the best move. One of the best move ever for me is to kind of understand that I need to have someone with me that can help me, right? Throughout the day, throughout the month, right? Get engaged as much as possible. Basically, I need an expansion of me, So when I was going through the interview process, right? I interviewed a bunch of people. I mean, it was crazy. It was like, I think we had like 200 applicants. But I would put it on LinkedIn just for fun. We had 200 applicants, because like, it's another thing about longevity, like wellness. Everybody wants to be part of that. She put it on LinkedIn. I was like, oh my gosh, I want to be part of this. They'll drop their job to get into this, get paid less money so they can just like get some peptides, Like, yeah. It's like crazy. So, so we went to 200 interviews. She had the least experience. Came down to like top 3, least experience. And I did something funny. She interviewed with everybody, right? That, know me. And they think they know what I need. So everybody did not pick her. They picked somebody else with more experience at doing the admin stuff, like the pharmacy admin, supplement admin, compliance admin. You have to have a lot of experience. So when I went through the whole thing, everybody picked somebody else. I was like, well, thank you very much. Because that's exactly what I don't want. I want that person. I know what I need. So I picked the person that nobody else wanted, and she's been amazing. It's funny.
yeah, you know what? That's so great.
It's like,
You trusted your gut and it worked out so well.
yeah.
Her energy is so amazing. Just brings a certain level of positivity to any conversation. It's so refreshing. It's great to see people who really love to do what they do. And I think that speaks to the next piece, which is, you're a pharmacist. You also got an MBA,
Right.
and he built 2 companies.
Yeah.
2 very successful companies.
Yeah.
At a point in time where you're standing on the threshold of really what I think is probably going to be the biggest thing in healthcare that we've ever seen. So how do you create culture? I always want to hear from other leaders, their philosophy around culture. How do you create the culture that really wins?
That's a really, really awesome question. But thank you very much for the good words there. I definitely see myself as a leader in training. Um, I think that leadership is constant training. You're constantly learning. Um, you know, and what I said to you earlier is really for me the foundation, which is you have to understand your own limitation. It starts by that. So once you understand as a leader that you don't know everything, you understand that your limitations you know, are there and that you need to learn from others to get better. That's recognition of, hey, this is part 1. Part 2 is now, once I understand that my limitations are right there, where can I go find people to complement me to get to where I need to be? And what kind of culture can I create around that as a team to elevate these people to the same level at which I'm elevating myself to go towards the same goal? For me, culture is about communication, teamwork, and vision, meaning that if you're able to actually communicate efficiently. Because there's people talk about communication all the time in a very easy way. No, communication is tough communication, good communication, and everything around that. Be able to disagree, agree again, and love each other, right? Because the intent of that communication is to make the whole organization move forward. The minute that you don't have that intent because you're misaligned, well, you're not part of that culture anymore. So communication is extremely important because that's, for me, is just like the most important thing you can do, because if you don't communicate, then there's nothing else. There's nothing left. So when I think about it, I think about communication as being one of the biggest element of it. You know, um, then your ability to actually find the right talent to complement yourself is the key, right? The people piece, I call it, because a good leader has the ability to recognize potential leadership in other people. But more importantly, a good leader is also able to help the other person elevate, right? Because you gotta, coach and counsel that person to actually elevate, right? Because people don't recognize have leadership skills, right? Some of the best hire I ever had is by going to Chick-fil-A and waiting in line with someone there that just, oh my gosh, this is leadership and training, right? Customer service, everything else in between, right? So it's your ability to actually recognize in other people and find the right talent and bring them together and make them part of that culture we're talking about in the communication side, to have the right intent to go towards the same goal.
Teamwork.
Yeah.
To feel a part of.
Yeah, exactly right. You have to connect. You have to be part of the whole of the whole organization at the deep level. Don't forget the financial side. Yeah, financial is right there, but you got to really believe in it. Believe in the goal, and, one other thing is during reviews, team reviews that we do, well, we do once a year review. First question I ask them is like, hey, what's the goal of the company for this year? If that goal is not aligned with everything that we've been working on, we've got a problem. You see what I'm saying? It's like, because we're putting money initiatives, and if cannot articulate what the goal of the company is, we have a problem, right? So it's all about through communication. So culture for me is really that, is, your ability to understand, as a leader, and understand what your limitations are, and your ability to go find the right people and elevate them to a certain level in which they're all, aligning with the same goal as you.
Yeah, and it becomes so evident. You see it in the company, and it was amazing too. When we talk about acquisition of talent, um, at times, and I've had this happen to me. I've done it. We get thirsty.
Yeah.
Hey, we've got to fill this role right now. You try to make the best decisions you possibly can in the moment. Sometimes it doesn't always work out, and man, that can really cost you.
Yeah, time is the most important thing you have, man.
Yeah. And I
That's
think
all I got.
that's that proper planning. That's an ability to actually operate out of a plan and really kind of see what's going, look at the metrics of the business and understand, okay, if we continue on this particular trajectory, what will we need at that point, at that benchmark? What will we need in order to maintain quality? And I know that you are a person, your companies are known for producing the highest quality products, and so we probably don't need to. I mean, although these listeners who are listening to me now, if you're going to see a longevity medicine, cellular medicine, functional medicine, concierge doctor, whatever you want to call it, make sure you're asking for progress, peptides.
Let me tell you, we're going to talk about quality. I don't mind talking a few minutes
Let's
about
do it.
quality, because it's a word that everybody's throwing out there, right? It's very easy to say, oh, hey, we have quality this, we have quality that. But what is quality? And I like to talk about this because, um, in the pharmacy world, right? In our world of compounders, true compounders,
Yeah.
you have quality standards. Those are recommendation, set forth by quality entities, governments, state boards of pharmacy, to basically set a standard of quality, right? So most compounders follow those set standards of quality. You have to do this. You have to wash your hands. You have to do this. You have to gown this way. You have to send this for this testing. Then you have other people that are, no, this is the gold standard. No, no. This is the standard. This is what they require. Okay, good. We're going to go 2, 3, 4 steps ahead of that to set our own quality standards based on the way we want to do business, right? And that's us. So when you do that, obviously you don't have the ability to mass produce stuff out there because that's not what you do. You're creating very highly quality products with the best testing possible to ensure that customers are getting the right products, right? That's what we do. So when you think about Progress Pharmacy, and all the other pharmacies that we do business with, that we're the part of a network, we want to ensure that we go above and beyond what is set forth by the gold standard in quality, right? So having an accreditation doesn't mean that you are the most qualified pharmacy out there or you follow the best quality, right? That means that you meet the standard, you meet the requirements set forth. We don't function that way. We want to go above and beyond. They say send one testing for one batch. Well, we'll send multiple testing, right? They say just test this. No, we test other things too, right? Because we want to make sure that this batch is not going to come back and say, hey, it was a problem downstream, right? Those are the differences that we do, right? And it takes time. Let me give you an example. If you're a physician listening right now and you call a pharmacy and you tell the pharmacy, can you make this product for me? The product is a sterile product. And the pharmacy tells you, oh yeah, no problem. I'll have it for you in 10 days. That's a problem because there's a certain testing that needs to be done to ensure that this product is actually stable, potent, sterile, and have no endotoxicity in it. So you have to have a standard that takes about 45 days to ensure that your formula that you created for that patient, for that doctor, is up to par. Nobody can create a new drug in a compounding site for sterile, right, in a couple days. Doesn't work that way, right? I will not do that. Now, can you make one little batch for this person? Potentially, yeah. Sure, that's no problem. But usually, that's the answer you want to get. You want to get, okay, well, it's going to take me time to actually develop this through R&D for you because you really want to go deep in this. You just don't want to just mix a few things here and give it to the patient because you don't know what the stability of the product. You don't really know what the long-term potency of the product is. At day 30, at day 45, you don't know. You have no idea. So that's quality.
I want to ask you something about that. You sparked a memory or a thought process for me. There's some stuff that's going around right now where people are actually taking, and again, we can't mention these actual names of these peptides, unfortunately, just because of the rule.
It's going to change very soon. Don't worry.
Yeah, I hope so. Oh, gosh, it'll make it so much better for us.
Yeah.
When we can actually give the real information, that'll be phenomenal. Because the people that tend to watch this, the demographics are, people who are high performers who want to, maximize everything in their lives. So it'd be good for them to actually know. What I would say is stay close to what you guys are doing. That'd probably be great. And that directory of providers that is coming from you guys is going to be huge for the world. There are people that are mixing peptides together. So let's just imagine there's one out there. I'm not going to say what it's called. But it's one where they take 3 peptides and they put it into one vial. So I'm not clear how you can take 3 different peptides, 3 different amino acid chains, and have them stay separated from one another. How does that actually really work? I mean, the pH levels must be different things. But I mean, like, how does that? Is that? That's not the standard, right? That's not the right way to do it.
No, it's not. It's definitely not the standard. For sure. It's very funny asking this, Jacques. I was in a meeting with some people that I think kind of double in the research side. They were asking questions, and they're they carry some of those cocktails, I call them. One of the reasons why they're saying that they're okay with it is because the patient doesn't want to inject 3 times. They don't want to inject 15 times a day. Right. So I understood exactly where they're coming from with their argument here. However, if you're going to engage into peptide therapy, you have to understand that those long chain of amino acids are very sensitive. Okay, you have to understand that part first. There's really no testing long term that have been done to show that together they mix extremely well for a long period of time. There's no testing that has shown, hey, together they actually will go and bind to the receptor site together, right? Because you just created something funny. Okay, so there's nothing out there showing anything. In theory, yes, you put them together, you're gonna have this outcome, right? But zero testing done. So we were all speculating on something, right? And then that's the message here. In the spirit of trying to save money, a lot of patient will say, "Can you mix them together?" And a lot of pharmacy will say, "I'll gladly do so for you, but I don't know if I can provide you long-term potency study and stability study on this product because I'm not sure if they're going to be stable in that solution." I'm okay with it. Fine, we'll do it for you. We don't function that way.
Okay, you won't do it.
Because we don't know. We have to do R&D studies on this and see exactly, and R&D is research and development studies to see if it's really going to be stable, right? And then we have to see actually if the intended outcome is actually still going to be there. Because I don't know if it's going to bind to the receptor site. What's going to happen when you inject? We don't know all those things. We're speculating. Am I a big fan of this? No, I'm not. I think that I know a few pharmacies like they're doing some studies, thank God, on those products. But as of right now, based on the information that we have, I will not recommend doing so. I'll recommend potentially the worst thing that you can do. Here's one thing you can do. You can have one bottle of peptide A, one bottle of peptide B, one bottle of peptide C. We'll not mix them together. I'll take peptide A, 0.5, same syringe. Peptide B, 0.5, same syringe. Peptide C, that way. Just a one-time deal. Because when they're in the same vial, over time, because of storage conditions, solubility, I don't know what's going to happen to your vial. You know what I mean? I have no clue. Nobody's done any testing on it. So that's probably the only thing that will do if you don't like to poke yourself multiple times.
But the really right way to do it is just accept the fact that you should, in a different injection site, administer that particular peptide.
1000%.
Yeah. I think if you're going to do it, I mean, again, I love the way that you think about less is more. We ran into this lady at the gym the other day, and I don't know. She came up to me. She's like, "Hey, what do you know about peptides?" And I said, "Well, a little bit." Like that answer. And she said, "Hey, do you have the hookup?" I'm like, no, I don't. I don't have the hookup. And she said, "Well, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. I'm doing this and I'm doing that." And I said, where do you get your peptides?" And she said, "Well, I get it from this guy." I said, "Well, where does he get them from?" "I'm not really sure." I said, "Well, first things first, not really sure is not really a good idea. Second thing is, those peptides that you're taking may not be the right mix of peptides for you.
100%.
You should really think about seeing a provider who really knows this. And the key is do they have the education? Have they actually spent the time to find out what's really, how does this all really, really work? It's crazy. It's a crazy world out there.
Man, I'm telling you, it is wild, and everybody's talking about it. It's like blowing up. I wish I could say names of certain products. I can't, but there's this thing on Bloomberg. Sitting on my chair at work, I'm looking at Bloomberg. It's talking about peptides. So, did I miss something? Is Bloomberg talking about peptide right now? So it has this chart of GLP-1, and they're talking about the GLP-1s, and then the number 3 peptides sold in the US is not an FDA-approved peptide.
Yeah.
It starts with a B, right? I'm like, what is going on? It's not going through my pharmacy, so I don't know who's selling that, But it is absolutely insane. So that means what? That means everybody's talking about it, right? Everybody's talking about it. The lady at the gym, the barber shop, the cashier, the register, the other person, your flight attendant, the pilot is on it, everybody's on it. The problem is they're not going to see Chrissy. They're not going to see Craig. they're doing something else. They're getting the stuff from somewhere else because your regular PCP is not writing a script that for peptide, right? I can tell you that. So, they're on Cigna, Caremark, Blue Cross, it's not happening there, so what's going on here? So, you know what I mean? So they're on different things. I don't know if it's working. Of course you don't know if it's working because you don't even know it's the right thing. Think about it. Oh, I have a shoulder injury. Somebody told me to just inject something there that start with a B. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to help. But of course you don't know. Because you're injecting something else at the same time on the other side, or you're mixing things at the same time, you glow in your face, you're doing all that. Of course, you don't know.
It's wild.
It's wild,
Yeah.
That's why this show, for example, is a way to actually get the message out. It's like, hey guys, stop, relax. Those things are awesome. However, this is how you got to do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's been so incredible for me. I learn so much from you guys all the time.
Yeah.
And it really has come back to this notion of, I thought my diet's pretty great. My exercise is pretty great. I'm doing things pretty much the right way. But the more you learn, the more you find out that there's so much more to it. If you really want to live a life of health, and as you always say, health is wealth, right?
Right.
There's a lot more to it. And I think one of the things that's great about all this talk is making people aware. And what we have to do is help them be aware of the fact that, well, that's definitely not the right way to go.
Mhm.
There is a better way to do it.
That's right. There's a better way to do it. And that's the beauty. And you're constantly learning. You know a few things about peptides, but now you know a few things about breathing. You know a few things about listening to us, right? You know a few things about all kind of crazy stuff, right?
The breathing stuff you were
Yeah.
talking about the other day.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
that was so good.
Dude, this is amazing. I connected with a gentleman that came to Calm. He's really is amazing. He's doing a lot of work. His company's name is called O2 Max. And he taught me, first of all, I wish I met him 30 years ago when I was playing tennis, because nobody ever told me that I don't know how to breathe. And sometimes, and people need to think about it. Think about it. Sometimes you forget to breathe.
It's so true. And you intense moments, you hold your breath, right?
That's right. And it's a muscle memory thing. So if you don't train your body to breathe, open up your lungs and do it, if you don't train your body to do it naturally, normally, without you thinking about it, it's not going to happen. That means that when you are in a very stressful environment, well, you're still locked here, right? Because you have to remember to breathe. The goal is not for you to remember to breathe, to breathe. You see what I'm saying? So you got to constantly train on how to breathe. And that's one of the biggest things. If we talk about it last time, on our call last time, I was so passionate about it because it just blew my mind. I was like, holy smoke, this is it. This is the most natural thing that I've ever experienced. I'm doing breathing techniques in the morning and I'm doing breathing techniques at night. And my day is enhanced to the next level. I sleep better. My Oura ring is picking it up. I feel better. Heart rate at night goes down perfectly. During the day, my stress level is a little different. I can tell that, in certain situation, I'm just like, mind is still there, thinking clearly, right? And then in certain environment, I'm breathing. I was like, holy smoke, this is amazing, right?
We've got to put his information
Yeah.
in the show notes here so people can actually find that info
Yeah.
and tap into that.
Oh, yeah, I'll share that information with you. This guy's been amazing. And we're going to have him at Calm again. But that's how you increase your VO2 max. For me, it's like, what we're talking about, VO2 max, right? We're talking about your biological clock, right? Your age that's being, your ability to actually see how well your oxygen is being utilized by your body, as a substrate. So you think about all those things and you think about, okay, cardiovascular wise, how can I improve my cardiovascular output just by breathing right without taking any single drug? That it's like, it's crazy. And I love it, and again, no drugs, right? Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's crazy when I'm learning out there. But yeah, breathing is freaking amazing. I don't know how to get to that topic, but
It's an amazing thing to see what's happening right now. And I think what the interesting thing about Calm is that you guys are bringing so many. I mean, that pre-conference day was so cool to see kind of like what you guys are doing at New HX, which we haven't even talked about. I guess we'll talk about New HX on Cell to Systems, but the notion of really figuring out how to maximize, how to optimize, and I think that more and more people are just going to want to do it. They're just going to do it.
Yes, sir. And you see the New HX idea? That's something that needs to be in a CBS in 5 years.
Oh, you know what? Can you imagine? Can you? I mean, I can see it for sure. I mean, it just makes perfect sense. Like, remember, we just go and get a blood pressure cuff, this.
Yeah. You want to,
Right. So now imagine getting a full diagnostic and really being able to tell, okay, and then having a full understanding of what you need in order to optimize.
You have a good baseline.
Yeah.
Because you get your blood work, we got all that stuff. Yeah, we got it. We can add a few more good things in it, that nobody see. We talked about thyroid last time. The difference, you go to this New HX place, they're going to tell you, okay, well, can you get your reverse T3? No, I won't care about your TSH. Thank you very much. Get my reverse T3, right? Get a few more things like this on the diagnostic side, but more importantly, just getting people access to this information, right? What is your VO2, Mike? What is your VO2? Put people something in a DEXA scan. Get that baseline and come back and just like, okay, just go breathe a little better. Come back here. Let's take a look and see exactly how you're doing, right? Put somebody on VO2 max and say, hey, get to your zone 2 training for 20 minutes. That's all I'm asking you. Don't do anything else. Go for a walk. 20 minutes a day. Get in zone 2. That's it. Come back again. Just very simple information to what you said beautifully. Optimize. That's it. That's all you want to do. Optimize people as much as possible.
Incremental improvement.
That's it.
That's the one thing the other day. So I have a friend who just, he's a musician and he spent a long time sort of traveling and came back and wanted to get back into the gym. And I said, okay, we're gonna work you up, but my workouts are going to be a lot different than yours, and don't even think about it. All right, I'm going to work you through this in a way where it's going to be perfect for you.
Right.
So don't pay attention to what I'm doing because that'll just mess up your mind. So we worked him through, and he's like, "Oh man, I'm so sore," and I'm like, "Yeah." And if I pushed you any further, then you wouldn't want to go back the next time. So it's like just a little bit. Like, let's just take this a little bit at a time, right? You don't want to overdo it. And I think so many times back in the day, right, as athletes, you'd see people like, I want to push you as hard as I possibly can. I want to break you. Later, would talk about that on the football field where, you're running without water.
When you come back, no water, man. You're stronger with no water. It's like, okay.
The worst idea ever, right? Oh, you know what? I mean, iCell. We can't leave the show without talking about iCell.
Yeah.
I mean, iCell has been such a game changer for me. I feel like there are two products that I really love that you guys produce. One is called AKG Plus, and the other is iCell. And I feel like if you could just share this, because I'm not sure that everybody would. The buckets of hydration.
Let me put this way for you. Very easy for you, for the listeners.
Yeah.
Okay. There's two things you have to think about when it comes to drinking something. Okay. Electrolytes replacement or cell hydration. There's two different things. If you are dehydrated because you just ran a marathon or you're playing soccer at the World Cup, they're going to put you in some type of IV and give you electrolytes. Electrolytes, a bunch of electrolytes going in your body, in your bloodstream to help you become hydrated again. Okay? So those are a bunch of stuff that just go through your body, through your bloodstream. They're not going inside your cell to the same level as a cellular hydration drink does. Cell hydration is different. Your job is to win the cell, right? Because you want to go to the main part of it. This is where everything happens. This is command center, right? So command center is inside the cell. You have mitochondria, you have all the cells. So you got to be in it to get that cell that shrunk from being dehydrated into going back and being healthy again.
Plump with the mitochondria. Exactly. Would create the ATP.
That's right. So don't get too confused about electrolyte replacement and cell hydration. Electrolytes, you're dehydrated, is after the fact. Cell hydration is proactively making sure that your cell are nice and plump, like you just talked about. Because what happened when they're nice and plump, a lot of beautiful things happen, right? Because now you're actually sending the right message. The proteins are folding perfectly. You're creating downstream So think about it. Energy comes from your cell. If your cell is shrinking, right, because it's not working properly, it's hard to create energy from the cell, right? To go out there and through a cascade of events, make your life better. Okay, we're not going to go in details
Everything's
because that's Biochem 101.
Yeah.
But what I can tell you is that, but if you hydrate your cell, everybody went through, if you go into school and you had biology 1, you know that you want a nice environment in your cell to be able to actually send the right message. And that's the whole point. With iCell, we're trying to do one thing. We're trying to actually take a bunch of peptides, okay, and get them into the cell, right? By formulating a product that we know as pharmacists work extremely well at penetrating the cell through osmosis, getting products inside the cell, right? To actually get the right peptides to the cell itself. So that's a beautiful formulation that we came up with. That is one of the number one foundational product that we include in every protocols that we do. Meaning that if you take a GLP-1, for example, one of the number one side effect is you stop drinking, you stop doing everything.
crazy.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. By the way, you also have cells in your muscles, right? So you need to get them hydrated, right? Right. You're beautiful, great. You're looking great. Well, because you have actually water in it. It's like, hey, there's water in your muscles, so they expand better, right? It's a very simple concept, but it's a foundational concept. Hydration. We are how many percent water, right?
It's like what, 70-80%, right?
Yeah. So if you think about those things, you think about the importance of a foundation when it comes to hydration. That's extremely important, right? Because we do a lot of things throughout the day that does the opposite, right? It creates the opposite, coffee, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Diuretic.
Exactly. Think about things that we do. You're walking, you're sweating, you are losing water, you're losing power to your cells, right? So the concept of iCell is just that simple. It's not electrolytes after the facts. That's the electrolytes job. Your job is to proactively power your cell through hydration. And that's what we're doing with iCell. And I think people like you, people like me, that are drinking this thing like religiously, can see the difference, can feel the difference.
I mean, the thing I would say to anybody is you have to see a provider to get it. So find the provider that has iCell. And when you do, send us comments and we'll try to direct you to the people. But the bottom line is, I would say use iCell for 30 days. 30 days so you can truly, you say 2 weeks. Yeah, it'd probably work to 2 weeks. You'd probably work it a week. But use it for 30 days because that's going to give you such an incredible difference that once you try to change, go back to water all by itself, it's not going to work.
It's not the same.
No,
Yeah.
you'd never go back.
It's really not the same. And what I like about iCell is it forces you to drink more water. That's what I tell people. It forces you to drink more water. That's it. You got to drink more. Drink more fluid intake. Is nothing wrong with that, right? So I'm glad you asked that question because that's as I'm getting back myself into working out and stuff like that. My son's playing a lot of tennis down in Florida. Proactively hydrating your cell is just so important, especially as you're getting older.
Yeah, it's incredible. AKG plus alpha ketoglutarate.
Right.
What's the mechanism of action there that makes that work so well? I mean, I asked Leonard the other day, can I just put it in my water, and drink it throughout the day, kind of like I do with iCell. But I also pre-workout, you were the one that turned me on to that, and pre-workout, and man, I got to tell you, that stuff is just like incredible.
Yeah, it's great. So it's a great question too. I like to get things simple for people to understand. Okay. AKG is a very important component of what we call a Krebs cycle. The Krebs cycle, some people probably heard of it, but it's cellular respiration. Okay. So what you need to do is you need to understand that in order for your cell to stay optimized, forget about all the other details around it. It's boring. Is that AKG is a very important part of it to ensure optimization of that respiration. Okay. So when you have a product like that at a certain dose, okay, which is why we have AKG plus. Okay. When you have a product like that at a certain dose, well, you're enhancing that cycle. right? A 12-year-old Krebs cycle is extremely optimized compared to a 50-year-old Krebs cycle.
Yeah.
Okay. Right? So you need to actually think about it this way. Okay, what can I do to enhance that cycle again, that respiration process, right? And AKG Plus works extremely well as you're doing that. So, to be optimized at the next level like you, I'll think about drinking this stuff, even pre-workout.
Yeah.
If you don't have the beauty of being as disciplined as Jock, just drink it anytime you can. You see what I'm saying? Just get it in your body. Just get in your body. Drink it throughout the day. Give it a shot somewhere. Put it in your smoothie. Enhance yourself.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And that's what it comes down to. But AKG Plus is a very good, very, very good point there. I'm glad you talked about it too. I mix that. So personally, what I do is I'll do, in my drinks, in the morning, I'll do ICL. Before I leave work, I get my ice, get my ICL in there. I'm a little bit aggressive on creatine right now. I'm really just digging deep in creatine. But I had a little bit more creatine in it.
Yeah. So there's 5 grams in a serving, which is 2 scoops as is currently formulated.
Yeah, I go 7.5 personally. That's me.
So you just put a little extra in.
Yeah.
And you guys switch from leucine to taurine. I noticed the difference. The taurine seems to give you like better overall it's better energy overall.
That's right. And for us too is we have synergy as well, right?
Yeah,
So
I take that afterwards.
Exactly. So the taurine, the research that came out with the taurine was just fascinating for us. And in the cocktail that we already had, it just made so much more sense to add taurine in it. And I love taurine too because of the energy level that it gives you.
I was already taking it in a capsule form.
Yeah.
And when you guys switched, I was like, cool, I don't have to take it in the capsules.
Yeah. So you have creatine, you have taurine, you have glycine. It's just so much. So I'll add 2.5 grams of creatine on top of that. I'll add ketone into it as well, right? Mix that. AKG Plus.
Ooh, that's a nice stack.
That's my drink for the day. So I carry my water with me throughout the day. I'm just drinking that, shaking and drinking that throughout the day. But I'm getting that, and I see the difference. Like when I'm traveling, for example, I don't have that with me because of TSA. So I can feel the difference, right?
I can too.
I can tell energy level is not the same.
Yeah.
Ability to think about, hydration, it comes in, your cells are everywhere in your body. They're in your muscles, they're in your brain, they're in your heart, they're in your gut. All right. So, you're just not going, it's not muscle hydration. It's overall cellular hydration. So that means that your ability to think is better. Your ability to exercise is better.
Yeah. You're doing it at the foundational level.
Correct.
Yeah. It's a way different.
Right.
Helping people understand the difference between electrolytes and osmolytes and how that all plays such a huge role. You can feel it in the gym. It's like, hey, when you start to really click in, oh my gosh, you're like, when you're really firing, you're like, okay. And you just don't fatigue as fast. You feel more, so much stronger.
Peptide. I wish I can say the name of it.
I know. Oh, yeah.
It was my favorite peptide when I used to take it back in the days when I first get into peptide. And man, I still give me goosebumps because I felt it. It was the only peptide I told you that actually, once PCAC approved this and get it favorable, I'll be able to say it, right? Hopefully, saying. But with that one peptide, man.
All right. So here we are. It's been a minute. That ketone stuff is working. I feel pretty good.
Man, I feel really good throughout the conversation. I was just like, oh man, this actually, I can feel the energy. And that's the thing about ketone for me is like when I first tried, I remember when I talked to Franck about it, is like I was sitting there at a conference. He was like, I was there for like 2-3 hours. And he came in and Frank is, just dump that in my coffee. Started drinking that. I was like, holy smoke, what's going on there? And that's kind of how I felt. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Just the energy level for me is it's great.
Yeah. I love it. You know what? Until once you start to use them, you just can't.
It's hard to stop.
Yeah. You can't imagine not having it.
And then when we first tried it back in the days, the taste was like so tough, but you can barely, the taste is so much better. It's so,
yeah,
like so easy to drink. I love it.
Yeah. It's for me, it's like, I don't even think about it anymore.
Yeah.
Just like, boom.
Yeah. I know.
Next level.
Next level.
Just like you, my man.
Yeah. Appreciate you, man.
Great to have you.
Yeah.
So thanks for seeing us.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. We'll be back again for sure.
I hope so.
Thank you.
Thank you.